What's up, fight fans? Welcome to the SB Nation Combat UFC Fight Night 137 post-fight show. My name's Flying Brian J. Thank you so much for joining me. On this episode of the program, the guys from the 6th round are joining me, Eddie Mercado and the Zane Simon. What we're going to do is go over every bit of action from this card, starting with what we would give our post-fight rating for the action, top to bottom. We're in the main event. If you don't want spoilers, please kick it out right now. Thiago Marreta Santos defeated Eric, your boy Anders, after the third round via TKO. So let's bring in the guys from the 6th round. Zane, what post-fight rating would you give this entire card? 1 to 5, 1 to 100. How many dolphin stickers you'd give it? Whatever.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll give it. How about a 10 out of 20? There we go. You know, double up on the 5 or quadruple up on the 5-point scale. Basically, like, it started out looking like a 2 or a 1. So exceeding expectations, you gotta kick it way up, having a violent finish at the end, having Little Nog get a shocking win, having Alex Oliveira come out and put the screws on somebody. But it was still meaningless, and it was still Fox pacing, and it's just like it even sped up a little. Like it didn't like conquer the world, you know. It was an okay card, but man, I wouldn't. It would be hard pressed to be like, for somebody who missed it to be like, oh no, you gotta go back and watch Evan Dunham get retired, you know.
Oh, you're so brutal, Zane.
I'm sorry, but like it's just there was some cool stuff on here. I'm not saying it was a bad card, but it's just like so much of it was not meaningful that even as a good card, like it can't be a great card. Like you can't stack up a bunch of meaningless fights and have them overperform by like, oh, you have to watch Sam Alvey lose out on a chance to be a ranked light. What? You know, like there's a lot of this that just doesn't matter.
I don't know. I might suggest to people to go watch Sam Alvey get knocked out by Lil Nog, but I know that Eddie Mercado, always Mr. Positivity. I love watching the 6th round. He's gonna bring in a higher rating than 10 out of 20. What do you got for us, Eddie?
I was going to say 10 out of 14 because we had 10 finishes and 14 fights, but there's a draw. You got to add a point, and Lil Nog got a knockout. You got to add a point. We had a couple retire. We had Talis Latis retire on a W at a point. And you know what? The UFC got brownie points for shouting out Ken Yamamoto. So add a fucking point. Perfect card. This was as perfect as this card could have been, in my personal opinion.
That is true. It is as perfect as it could have been. I will agree with Eddie on that standpoint, that for a card that looked absolutely terrible on paper, it absolutely was the best version of that terrible card.
And Charles Olives went ahead and set the record for most submissions in UFC history, passing Royce Gracie, and that's historic. So like this doesn't have divisional relevancy, this card, but there are monumental moments. You know, retirements or milestones. Seeing someone go out on a win is huge for me. You know, it should be huge for most MMA fans since we always see our heroes get just demolished on their way out, and it's painful and it's hard to watch. So it's nice and refreshing to see someone go out on top and in their home country. Like it was cool, and I might have got a little something in my eye when it happened. You know, I was really happy for Talis Latis. It was very boss-like for him. So I thought it was a great card.
Yeah, the card way exceeded my expectations. I did a pre-fight show, which I hope you guys will join me on next week on the MMA Mania Twitch channel. But I gave it a 2.3 out of 5. And I always shoot really low so that the card, I can allow it to exceed my expectations. But post-fight rating, I'd give it like a 4.5 out of 5. I'm not going to go perfect like Eddie. I'm not quite that Mr. Positivity. But yeah, as you said, 10 finishes out of 14. That's huge. The main event was like the most light heavyweight fight featuring 2 middleweights that I could possibly imagine. There was a lot of slop going on there, but it was a lot of fun still. And there were no names on it. I didn't find myself ever wishing I was doing something else, or like, oh my God, this card is dragging on and on and on. For Eddie, it's 1:30 in the morning, and I don't know, Eddie, did you ever get where you were like, I'm done watching this thing. I just want it to be over, please. Like,
Well, oddly enough, I did, but it has nothing to do with the main card. I just felt like the prelims was so complete and had so much in it for me, with like the retirements and successful debuts and Oliveira with setting the record. Like, it just seemed like a perfect arc, and just it climaxed right there at the end of the prelims, and I would have been fine. And that was like about 4 hours, which is a typical major league sporting event anyways, and it just kind of seemed like the right time to call it quits. And then the main card started, and that fight was a draw, so that kind of like lulled me into this, man, they should have probably just ended it right there. But I got right back into it. So I mean, there was the moment where I was like, man, they should end it here, but I'm not mad that I saw the rest of it. So,
and Andre Ewell, given Henenbrow the worst loss of his career, probably didn't help it at all after Marcos and Rodriguez went to that draw. But let's talk about the main event of the evening, where Thiago Marreta Santos defeated Eric "Ya Boy" Anders via TKO referee stoppage at the end of the third round. Zane, what do you think should be next for Thiago Santos? Do you think he should stay in the light heavyweight division? Do you think he should move to or go back to middleweight? And also, what do you think of that referee stoppage?
Oh, I mean, Thiago Santos has to stay at light heavyweight, first and foremost. I think it was Phil McKenzie who put it best a few days ago, that like it just has to be crushing to Thiago Santos to go up to light heavyweight. So they'd be like, I'm going to go up to light heavyweight. I'll take on fights there. I'm going to get to crush some old dudes in some easy fights. And then he gets handed Eric Anders, who's like a young power punching middleweight, also jumping up, while at the same time, watching Anthony Smith, who he absolutely like crushed and punted around the cage, be in title contention. Like, light heavyweight is the division where Anthony Smith can be an immediate title contender. Thiago Santos would be foolish not to stay there. Like, winning this fight over Eric Anders, who isn't ranked at all at light heavyweight, probably makes Thiago Santos a ranked light heavyweight.
Yeah, I was thinking what should be next for him is the winner of Misha Cirkunov versus Patrick Durkin Cummins, which is happening in October. That'd be a perfect. I think both those guys are in the top 15. It'd be a nice transition for him. The timing of it works out really well. And if somehow Patrick Cummins wins that fight, I think that I would definitely favor Santos over him.
Oh yeah, no, I would favor Santos over both of them right now. I mean, just for pure violence, and seeing Misha Cirkunov get slept a couple times, and and Cummins getting absolutely crushed in almost every fight, win or lose, I'd pick Santos to win those fights.
Honestly, I would pick Santos over anybody going up through the top, up until Latifi, honestly, like Manua and down. Like, there's definitely a chance that Santos could knock each of them out easily.
That's why I say, like,
you got to make
the top 5 at middleweight, and it's like Santos isn't winning any of those fights.
Like, he's already hit his ceiling at middleweight when Branch knocked him out.
Yeah.
So yeah, light heavyweight is it's wide open.
This whole conversation makes me think about how we want to add new weight classes, 165, potentially 195. We definitely don't need 195 if these 185ers can go up and immediately be in the top 10. Like, the top 15 middleweight could go up and be top 10 light heavyweight immediately. I don't think that we need that 195-pound weight class.
No, I'm much more on board with the idea of making a 185 to 265, just like crushing it all into one division. And just be, because, like, you think Yoel Romero couldn't possibly hang with, like, Mark Hunt or Alistair Overeem right now?
I'm with you, Zane.
I'd favor him over Mark Hunt and both of those guys.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, you could just make them that one huge division, and you'd probably have some amazing weird ass fights.
I'd love to watch Yoel Romero versus Daniel Cormier.
Exactly. Like, that fight would be amazing.
Or Yoel versus Brock? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What would be bigger than that?
I'd love to watch Yoel Romero beat Brock Lesnar. But let's reel it in and talk about UFC Sao Paulo some more. The stoppage, was kind of scary. And Zane and I were talking about it before you came in, Eddie. I just wanted you to tell me what your thoughts, what was going through your head as Eric, your boy Anders, fell over a few times at the end of the third round.
Okay, so the first time it happened, it was kind of just it almost looked like a playful, like, man, that was a tough ass round. Like, man, let me just sit here for a second, catch my breath, get up and keep it going. And then he gets up and then he tries to get up and then just kind of falls over. And I'm like, oh wow, like this is bad. Like he's either like extremely hurt from those Travis Brown elbows, or he is so gassed that he has absolutely nothing left, and he has pushed his body. He's exerted himself so much where he's completely exhausted and has nothing left. Like his body's shutting down on him.
Yeah.
And then like his corner starts trying to help him up, and then he falls again. And I'm like, oh man, this is like Dada 5000 falling over out there. Like this is not good. So I was immediately concerned for his health and his well-being. I know he got up, eventually after the fight was called, and he like shucked off the medical attention, which I didn't like seeing. And, I'm kind of curious to hear an update on his condition, because honestly, it scared the shit out of me, dude. I don't like seeing, combat sports athletes collapsing. I don't like seeing anyone collapse. You know what I mean? Like them getting knocked out, that's one thing. But like falling apart due to exhaustion, like that's more than just, getting stuck. That's like some heart issues, potentially some brain bleeding, potentially. Like this, it's not good. A great win for Santos, but the second he collapsed, that fight should have been stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I was thinking right when I was running the Twitter account right away, I was just like, they need to be getting him to an ER. They shouldn't be waiting for the decision. They shouldn't be checking him out in the back. They shouldn't be doing anything other than getting him into an ambulance, getting him to the hospital, and checking to make sure that he's not having a brain bleed, that he's not that his body isn't collapsing, that he isn't having like a heart attack or something. Because especially with the brain bleed thing, that's the thing that really worries me, is because all the stories you hear about that, you see somebody fall in the ring like that, somebody just getting absolutely pummeled and beaten and getting an extended beating that's really terrible. And then, they get to their feet, they walk out, sometimes under their own power, they'll talk to people, they'll be coherent, they'll be able to have a conversation, and then suddenly they take a turn and they're collapsing again, and you hear them like an hour later that they're in a coma. And if they're not jumping on that with something like that, when you see that happen, I mean, the UFC has been incredibly lucky that we've never had somebody die. I mean, combat sports is full of people dying.
And real quick, Zane, let's not forget where Eric Anders comes from, and that is a real stout collegiate program, a football program where helmet to helmet contact is just part of the game. So it's not like he's coming into the sport without having already gone through some severe head trauma.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, you're right, that's definitely something they need to be jumping on.
Like I really liked it was a cool fight. It was a great finish from Santos, but I immediately am just get the dude to a hospital. The way he was falling down, the way he couldn't stand up, and the way he looked, it's not just like, oh man, he looks a little woozy, he looks like he's still punchy, and he looks like he's on skates trying to stand back up. And he has to sit on a stool, and then he's just like, oh, where am I? That's not, we've seen that, and guys snap out of that and they go on and relatively, beyond the punch drunkenness of a 20-year fight career or whatever, they end up more or less fine out of it. But you don't see guys very often trying to get up, and then when they're standing, their body just fails them and they collapse, and do it multiple times. And that really worries. That hate seeing it.
It truly was. It was terrifying, and it could probably be the front runner for the WTF of the card. So let's not use that as the WTF of the card. If you can think of something else that was a what the fuck moment, before I give you the platform to push the 6-round post-fight show, let's go over our WTF of the card. I'll start just in case you guys don't have yours yet. I'm gonna go way down to the prelims where Zaleski dos Santos versus Vendrami. In the first round, when Vendrami got the back of dos Santos, he fish hooked the shit out of his eye, similar to what Lee the Leech Jingliang did to Jake Matthews quite a while back, and the referee just like, hey, no eye poking, just hey, none of that. I mean, he fucking got like double knuckled Dos Santos's eye, and the referee didn't say anything about it. The commentators didn't hardly even mention it. Just that's my what the fuck moment. That stuck with me throughout the entire night of fights here. It definitely reminded me of Lee the Leech doing that to Matthews, and we talked about that for probably an entire week after that happened. And what the fuck to fish hooking eyes. Zane, well, let's go. Eddie, you got yours ready?
Yeah, I got one ready. I got two. Can I do two? Is that possible?
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
as many as you'd like.
All right. First, we'll do Hector Lombard. It's round 3. You're getting busted up. You're Hector Lombard. Are you going to go for it? Are you going to start throwing bolos? Nope. You're going to clinch. You're going to clinch up and look for a takedown when you need to probably finish the fight. What the fuck, Hector? Like, WTF. And he does that all the time, so it's not like out of character or anything. But still, I hate seeing it. He's on a terrible skid. He concerns me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been since 2014 since Hector Lombard legit last won a fight.
Yeah, and it's sad. But the even bigger WTF moment, it has to be Lil Nog knocking out Sam Alvey. Like, that has to be the WTF moment.
We shouldn't have let you take two, because now you took yours and mine.
Aw. Same team, Zane. Same team.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can elaborate on Lil Nog knocking out Sam Alvey, if that's your WTF.
Little Nog, that it has to be. I mean, the dude's 5,000 years old. Everybody else is like calling out, oh, this one's for my kid at home. It's his birthday. Little Nog's out there like, okay, my grandkids, you better be in bed by now. You know, like, I'm glad I got this fight done to hurry. I'm going to go get the blue plate special down at Denny's. And it's it's amazing. We have to celebrate that. The dude is 42 years old.
Yeah, it's
also
awesome.
Sam Alvey is the most, I think, unintentionally creeps me out fighter out there, and so I picked him to win. I thought he would win, but I can't help
give him a WTF just for his gimmick.
Well, Flying Brian, I have one more that we have to address.
God, man,
this one's sweet. This one's sexy. So, how about Renan Barão spending his training camp at the Fabricio Verdum School of Running After People? Like, are you kidding me? Like, he comes out and he ran after you, like literally like sprinted after him and just got clocked and dropped to start the fight.
Yeah, that was
WTF, man.
That really is the worst loss of Barão's career.
Very similar to Stipe dropping Verdum with a jab, right?
Yeah.
Ewell's was like an actual left hand, like an actual power punch, but man, like I think Conor Rebush on Twitter while I was doing the fights, he said it best. Like, Barão just lost a fight to a dude that, at least at an elite level, can't wrestle or grapple, and it just like he looked gone. By the second round of that fight, Renan Barão looked absolutely done in a way, like way beyond anything. I mean, even Brian Kelleher beating him, that made sense. Brian Kelleher being a bricked up little wrestler who puts a pace on people. Ewell, though, is kind of like this relaxed, laid back, like, let me hit you every now and then, snipe at you, striker. And Barão was just, man, it was a terrible fight.
Yeah, he was washed. And he was like, I don't need to go for takedowns. I'm obviously doing great on the feet. Psych. TF Barão. Yeah. He's washed.
And we talked about how those two fights, or Marcos versus Rodriguez, and then Ewell versus Barão, they were both kind of letdowns. I was let down by Marcos and Barão in the same sort of way. You could see some dejection in their face, and they just wouldn't do what they needed to do in order to get the victory. I feel like they mentally gave
Barão
up.
Was like a world champion who won like 25 straight fights. Marcos has always been a win-loss kind of like, oh, she's got all these tools, but they never quite gel right. Like, her losing that fight made sense. On Barão, I mean, the streak of losses makes sense, but this was it's a really far fall from losing to TJ Dillashaw to now losing to Andre Ewell on this UFC Sao Paulo card.
Yeah, I like to talk about what's next for fighters when they win, on the main card especially. But with Ewell, I have no idea what could be next for him because I don't know how to gauge the victory over Renan Barão because Barão looked terrible. He hardly.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. He didn't look UFC caliber even, and he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's only won. He's 1-5 in his last 6 outings. Yeah. So I have no idea what's next for Andre.
Yeah, and that bantamweight division is full of young killers too. So Ewell as getting getting a huge name in his first win, it might just be the kind of thing where they're like, okay, well, next time you fight Peter Yan, good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you. But anyway, I'll probably recap the rest of the card if you want to.
All right. Thank you for having us on, Brian. We're going to go and we'll be back with the 6th round coming at everybody on Monday morning. You can find me on Twitter in the meantime at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter in the meantime at Eddie Mercado. You can find both of us over at bloodyelbow.com day to day. Thanks for having us on here, man, and we will see you later.
Thanks a lot for joining me. I look forward to doing the same thing with you for UFC 229.
I love your beard, by the way.
Plan on
Can I
it.
say that? I really dig the beard.
Yeah, it's not half as good as yours, my dude, but thank you.
I disagree. I respectfully disagree.
All right. Before this keeps going, let's get out of here.
Thanks,
All right.
guys. Later.
Later.
All right, fight fans. I'm going to recap the rest of this action by myself with you guys as my co-host. What we were bringing the 6-round post-fight show guys in for is kind of to transition into me, Flying Brian J, doing the recap shows basically solo. We're going to do that first part where we talk about the main event, the post-fight rating, and the WTF of the card. Then we're going to move into where I will recap the rest of the night. So, Simon Zane, if you want to stick around, I'm sure we could become good friends as well. But co-main event, welterweight fight between Alex Cowboy Oliveira and Carlo Pedersoli. This was insanity. It ended in just 39 seconds of the very first round. Pedersoli went for a stepping side kick that Oliveira caught with his left hand, pulled Pedersoli in close, and then caught Pedersoli with a right hand to the temple. That put him down, and then he finished him with a little bit of ground and pound. All right, Simon Zane. I know Novus 22, you don't like the change. I know. Last week, or not last week, for UFC 228, I did the post-fight show by myself, and a lot of you guys were super upset that Eddie and Zane were not here. So we're bringing them in for that portion, and then I'm just going to come in for the rest of it. Forever fucking angry. I packed cone and missed Cosboy. What the hell? Carlo got robbed, says Ava Ortega. That's hilarious. Anyway, what's next for Alex Oliveira after that victory over Pedersoli? What I think he should do is fight against Damian Maia. And the reason why I like that matchup really well is Maia hasn't competed for a while. He's due to return to the octagon. And Oliveira's loss to Cowboy Cerrone really sticks in my mind. Cerrone got a takedown and then jiu-jitsu wizard him, passed him like a wizard, got over his guard, got him with that triangle choke. I want to see if Oliveira has improved his jiu-jitsu defense enough to hang with somebody like Damian Maia. I know Damian's super old, but he is high-ranking in the welterweight division. He's got really good takedowns, relentless with them, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. So I want to see if Oliveira could hang with Damian Maia in that area. And it kind of makes me sad that Damian Maia would be on a 3-fight losing streak if he were to lose to Oliveira, which I think he would. But this is the fight game, and you can't just set these old-timers like Lil Nog on the shelf or give them easy fights forever, even though I want them to do that with Anderson the Spider Silva. Excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold. Let's move down to light heavyweight Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. Sam Alvey, we talked about that fight already. It was one of the WTFs of the card. Sam Alvey getting knocked out by the 42-year-old Nogueira. I was very surprised by the outcome of this fight because Nogueira, I was tweeting about it from the MMA Mania Twitter account during the bout, during the entire night of fights, actually. And I said, man, Rogerio looks really slow. And Sam Alvey was hitting him with a couple of left hands, and I thought it was just inevitable that Sam was going to catch him with a left and put him down. And Sam caught him with a pretty decent left. He got wobbled for a minute, but he regained his composure. And Rogerio was hitting Alvey with overhand lefts over and over and over again. Over and over and over and over. And eventually it hurt Alvey enough that it sent Alvey on to roller skates. He chased him down and put him away. Sam Alvey, he protested the stoppage, but I think it was a great stoppage. As soon as Sam lost control of his body, dropped straight to the ground, ate a couple of more punches from Nogueira, that's when you should call it over. I know that one of the punches from Nogueira woke Alvey up, and then Alvey went to try to wrestle Nogueira, and he took him down after the referee called it over. But good stoppage, I think. Save Sam Alvey from himself. Like we're talking about with Eric Anders, these guys don't need to take that much brain damage, especially someone like Eric Anders, even Sam Alvey. They are young in the tooth. They've got long mixed martial arts careers ahead of them. Making them sustain too much damage in a loss now isn't doing them any good. Where it's not like boxing, where one loss really sets you back a long way, could set you back years. In mixed martial arts, especially in the light heavyweight division, you get this one loss, maybe not knockout loss, because then you might have to take more time off. But if you got a decision loss, you could get 3 more victories that same calendar year and be right back in the mix. So I think always side with stopping the fight, not early, but on the early side rather than late. Jack Hucknail, Lil Nog won me $100. The pure legend. Me and my buddy were bouncing off the walls. That's awesome, Jack. I'm happy for you, my dude. Ava Ortega, Nog looks stiff and slow at the beginning. He looks stiff and slow when he's fucking walking around wearing pedestrian clothing. He's 42 years old. He's been doing combat sports for a really long time. He's old, stiff, and slow. That's just purely and simply. What's next for Antonio Rogerio Nogueira? I know some of you get mad that I say their whole name every time, but in my mind, that's who they are, you know? My name, to me, I'm not just Brian, but anywho, Nikita Krilov recently lost to Jan Blachowicz. Actually, last week he lost to Jan Blachowicz. And he's going to be in a similar ranking position as Nogueira, and I'd like to see them face off against each other. Everybody coming into Nogueira versus Alvey thought that Nogueira was going to get knocked out. If we head into Nikita Krilov versus Nogueira, we're going to think the same thing, that he's going to get knocked out. But he's got some really good jiu-jitsu. I mean, him and his older brother teach jiu-jitsu classes, right? We don't see that very often. Nogueira loves to box. And we got this young up-and-comer that people have a lot of excitement about against Nogueira, and I think that would be a fantastic matchup. Excuse me. Before that, Andre Ewell versus Renan Barão. Eddie Mercado did a really good job recapping that bout. At the very beginning, Renan kind of ran at Ewell, and I believe it was a left. Well, I believe it was a left hand. Left hand as he rushed in that dropped Barão, but Barão recovered quickly. He got some takedowns. He got his jiu-jitsu working, and he clearly won the first round. But then round 2 and 3, Barão refused to go to the takedown game, and the jab to left straight from Ewell just peppered Barão over and over and over and over again, and Barão looked like he was going to get finished at times. And I can't believe it was a split decision. I thought it was pretty clear 29-28 in favor of Ewell. But whatever. What's next for Renan Barão? Dude needs to retire or maybe go to Bellator. I don't know. He should probably retire. Next for Ewell, we already said, who the fuck knows? We don't have any idea how to gauge his performance tonight. Women's strawweight bout before that, Ronda Marcos versus Marina Rodriguez, ended in a majority draw because in the first round, Ronda got Rodriguez down with a head and arm throw early. She had 3 minutes and 41 seconds of top control, and she outlanded Rodriguez 37 to 6 with strikes. And Rodriguez, once she got on the mat, she couldn't do anything in that first round. In the third round, Marcos got Rodriguez down again, but she did like a blast body lock to inside trip takedown to get her to the ground. And she was passing, she was in half guard, and she was trying to pass to mount. And she couldn't quite get to mount, and she got kicked kind of to side control. And Rodriguez spun, got her feet on the cage, and then flipped off to get back to her feet. Once she got back to the feet, teeps to the face of Marcos, the 1-2s, lead hand jumping in uppercuts were just all doing really well for Marina Rodriguez. I was impressed with her tenacity, her durability, her lengthy striking techniques, her mobility, and her ability to fend off those takedowns from Marcos and get back to her feet if she did get taken down. I don't know what's next for her, though. You know, there's a lot of women in this strawweight division, and we'll have to see how it shakes out. Simon Zane says that Barao was a walking punching bag. Yeah, well, let's look at the stats, guys. We could even take a peek at these old statarinos. That's weird. Actually, Hennen outlanded Andre because of the takedown. But on the feet, second round, Uhl outlanded Barao 20-8, and in the third round, 29-17. And as Jimmy Smith said many a times in the broadcast, not every significant strike is created equal, and the significant strikes that Barao hit Uhl with were not nearly as significant as the ones that were coming the other direction. Huh. Oh yeah, paid programming. I was going to do that as one of my WTFs of the card too. Marina Rodriguez, during her bout with Marcos, kept like messing with the crotch of her shorts. Like, she would like strike, and then mess with the crotch of her shorts. Strike, mess with the fucking thing. And then between rounds, she's all like, what the hell's going on? That's a possible WTF of the card. When I saw that dude Uhl in interviews prior to the fight, I got the feeling he was going to win. Just happy guy trying to make a living from this shit, says Simon Zane. By the way, guys, if you want to listen to the entirety of this show on a podcast form, it is available. It's going to be available on my personal podcast feed. Search for Flying Brian Show on your favorite podcast hub. I won't push that anymore. But let's go down to Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Christos Giagos. Very fun fight. Oliveira was having some trouble getting Giagos down early. In the first round, he did get him down, but Giagos just stood right back to his feet, was able to turn face, get some underhooks, and then look at Oliveira. Excuse me. But in the second round, and this kind of goes back to the first round, but Oliveira got the takedown on Giagos, and he goes down to all fours to try to just stand back up, and as soon as he does that, Oliveira like simultaneously snags the back and then gets the arm underneath for the rear naked, just seamless. And now Charles do Bronx is the sole winner of the most submission victories in UFC history with 11. He was tied with Royce Gracie at 10, but now he is the top dog with submissions. It's pretty damn incredible. He said in the post-fight interview that he wants to go back to 145 pounds. And he went to the back and got interviewed by, I think, Guilherme Cruz from MMAfighting.com, and he said he wants to fight perhaps Renato Moicano. He'd fight Jose Aldo, or that Russian guy that nobody seems to want to fight, and that is Zabit Magomedsharipov. And if that fight right there doesn't tickle your fancy, Oliveira versus Magomedsharipov, I think you're insane. I think you're just purely insane. What's next for Oliveira? If he can make the fucking weight at 145 pounds, I say we definitely go with do Bronx versus Magomedsharipov. It'd be incredible. Simon Zane, Cholo, I hope you have a mouse emoji. I'm going to put Cholo in timeout. Okay. Javelin Fang says, I always thought Barao was cloned after the original died before the first TJ fight. His teeth give it away. Huh. That's kind of like the conspiracy theories about Eminem isn't really Eminem anymore because his cheekbones look different. I don't know. It's funny. everything for Barao came at a certain time. You know, he started not doing well as soon as they did away with the IVs, so you couldn't IV after weigh-ins anymore. USADA came into play. He is getting older, and he got people say he got his soul taken from TJ Dillashaw. This stream needs more John Morgan. I'd love to have John Morgan on and talk to him. Anyway, let's move down the card some more. Let's quickly do it. Francisco Masaranduba Ronaldo versus Evan Dunham. Dunham was doing a good job of keeping Trinaldo at range, and he was moving laterally, and he would hit Trinaldo with like some long strikes, but he was overextending his torso a lot to reach Trinaldo. And in the second round, Trinaldo timed Dunham coming in with a rear hand uppercut with a knee perfectly placed to the liver of Dunham and sent him down to the canvas, and getting the knockout via knee to the body at 4:10 of round number 2. But what was beautiful about this fight in the post-fight was Trinaldo brought Dunham in, and he made sure that Dunham stayed there so that he could speak to Dunham and tell him that he respects him and thanks for the fight. Just showed him some love so he could say it to him but have the translator right there. And I thought that was a nice moment. And then we actually got to hear from Dunham too, because this was his swan song. This was his retirement fight. And Trinaldo called out Kevin Lee. He says he thinks about Kevin Lee every single day. I don't think that's a fight that Trinaldo's going to get. So maybe he should stop thinking about another man all the time. Moving on down, Ryan Spann versus Luis Henrique, a decision. Luis Henrique. It wasn't a great fight, really. That was probably the low light of the night for me. Spawn took him down, got on top of him. Wasn't that great. Before that, Augusto Sakai versus Chase Sherman. Sakai got the TKO victory at 4:03 of round number 3. And I tweeted at one point that Chase Sherman's got a dynamite chin on him. But it might be a hindrance to this guy's longevity of a healthy lifestyle, because he ate a lot of strikes. I'm going to try to find this. Man, the UFC's website's kind of shitty. Oh, there it is. So, in the third round, Augusto Sakai outlanded Chase Sherman 69-25, and the punches that were coming from Sakai were way more significant than the ones that Chase Sherman was throwing at him. I would like to say what's next for Augusto Sakai, but I don't think that Chase Sherman's that high level of a competitor. Every single thing that Augusto Sakai threw seemed to land. He only landed at 68% of the total strikes, 54. Excuse me. But it seemed like a higher percentage than that. Ava Ortega says Sherman's given himself some brain damage. And yeah, man, he ate a lot of strikes. I thought the fight could have stopped earlier. Sakai had Sherman into plum clinch, was kneeing him to the face. Sherman bent over, was really getting him to the face. He was able to get up, clinch, and try to survive for a while. But I think at the end I counted something like 38 unanswered strikes to the face at the end there. The fight could have been stopped earlier, but that didn't really matter. Before that, Sergio Moraes versus Killaby Ben Saunders. This was very interesting because Saunders, I know him as a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner from 10th Planet BJJ, right? He's got that rubber guard that he likes to do, throw his leg over the top of the shoulder and then hold it with his hand so that they can't control their posture. But what Moraes would do after he got Saunders to the ground to go around that the rubber guard mission control was just pass guard on the opposite side of where the mission control was. And then once he got there, he looked for an arm triangle in the first round, and then he went to an arm bar that almost finished the fight. At the end of the first round, they were against the fence, and Ben Saunders got saved by the bell. But then Sergio got him in the same position and just locked in the triangle choke from the top position in the second round. He got him in mount first, and then slowly, sunk it in more and more, and then went off to the side to finish it. And then in the post-fight interview, Moraes said that he's got the best jiu-jitsu in the welterweight division. And so he said he's not going to call anybody out, but he wants big fights next or something. And I'm thinking Gunnar Nelson hasn't fought in a while, and I love. Gunnar Nelson has good jiu-jitsu. I mean, he hung in there with Damian Maia in the jiu-jitsu department. I would love to see Moraes and Gunnar Nelson go at it, basically in a jiu-jitsu competition in an octagon where they can punch each other and the fights start standing. I think that sounds fantastic. Moving down, Marina Bueno Silva versus Jillian Robertson. Bueno Silva was hitting Robertson with some hard right hands and elbows on the feet. Robertson was able to get the fight to the ground. She couldn't do much with it, though, and then Silva switched her hips, got that armbar, and then Robertson cried afterward, and that's pretty much it. Talis got a victory over Hector Lombard before that, unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Eddie and Zane touched on that already. Hector Lombard does not have a very good gas tank, nor does he have a very good fight IQ. Talis started getting Lombard with right hands, or was it right hands? Let me look. 1 second. Yeah, I think so. Anywho, yeah, straight rights that landed a lot on Hector Lombard. Hide that person. Moving on down. Zaleski dos Santos versus Luigi Vendramini. I already mentioned that Vendramini. Fucking, that guy's name is tough to say. So Luigi, I'm going to say, fish hooked Dos Santos' eye in the first round when he was trying to go for a rear naked choke. I was very surprised that Dos Santos was able to survive that rear naked choke attempt. Showed a lot of grit, a lot of intelligence in his rear naked choke defense, and that was really fun. Before that, Easy DS almost had a Peruvian necktie. It was awesome. Luigi went for a takedown attempt. Dos Santos switched his hip backs, pushed his hip backs really fast. He sprawled, got the front headlock on Luigi, and then he turned it into that Peruvian necktie. It looked pretty deep, but he couldn't snag it. Second round, Luigi went for an outside low kick, and no, he went for a kick, and he sprained his ankle, it looked like, and he went back to the fence. He went like crashing back to the fence a little bit, and as he did that, Dos Santos hit him with a flying knee to the face, and then finished with some punches after that. As Luigi was backing up to the fence also, it seemed like he was like fidgeting with his eye, like something, like he got poked or something, but right before he twisted his own ankle, Dos Santos hit him with a check left as Luigi was circling off to his right. And then the first fight of the night, Livia Renato Souza defeated Alex Chambers, guillotine choke at 121. Fight was never close. She was a huge favorite, making her UFC debut, and just tooled on Alex Chambers. Okay, guys, now I'm going to use you as my co-host. What post-fight bonuses would you give? You can give 2 post-fight bonuses or performance bonuses and 1 fight of the night, or you can give 4 performance bonuses. I'll start with mine, then we'll head to the Twitter machine and we'll find the real ones. Fight of the night probably is going to go to Thiago Santos versus Eric Anders. Excuse me. Performances are going to go to Nogueira and Alex Cowboy Oliveira. And I always give 1 extra one because I'm not actually giving anybody any money. And I'm going to give a post-fight bonus to... you know what? I'm going to give one to Charles Oliveira. Actually, he probably deserves one the most. You break Royce Gracie's record for most post-fight bonuses, or for most submission victories, excuse me, and you get a post-fight bonus. Stewie Griffin says, old man bonus for Antonio Nogueira. Agreed. Simon Zane says, Alex Chambers looked very good for a... oh, I see. Nog for sure. So we're giving them to Santos, Anders, main event, fight of the night, I think, probably. And then the 2 Oliveras and Nogueira getting post-fight bonuses. Let's check the Twitter machine, and I will see what the real post-fight bonuses were. If they are up. Bonuses. Yep. The main event got fight of the night. Knew it. And then performances of the night went to Charles Dubronx, boom, and Lil Nog. So we nailed it. I would just give an extra one to the Brazilian Cowboy. Ava Ortega. Main event, fight of the night. Performances go to Bueno, Lil Nog, and Souza. I like it. Well, that brings us to the end of the show, my friends. This has been the SB Nation Combat UFC Fight Night 137 post-fight show. If you want to listen to the audio only, search for Flying Brian Show on your favorite podcast hub. You can check out all of the classic MMA Nation shows from the channel over on Bloody Elbow Presents, or you search for MMA Nation on your favorite podcast hub, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, yada yada. They're all there. And the 6th round is going to come out on Monday. The vivisection is over there still. And I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. My name is Flying Brian J. Follow me on Twitter at Flying Brian J. Follow me on Facebook at Flying Brian Show. And I will see you on the MMA Mania Twitch channel for a pre-fight show with Zane Simon and the Eddie Mercado before UFC 229 in 2 weeks. Enjoy the rest of your night, my friends. Namaste.